You're listening to the Marne Report.
Well, hey, Fort Stewart, Hunter Army Airfield, Molly here with your latest edition of the Marne Report podcast. And today I am joined by my friends Jeff and Bo from the Directorate of Plans, Training, Mobilization and Security. We are here to talk about the integrated protection exercise that's coming up at the end of March. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being on the podcast with me today.
Hey, thanks for having us, Molly.
Appreciate it.
Hey, before we kick this off, though, I want to know a little bit about you guys because, Bo, I know that you are a veteran to this podcast, but Jeff, you are brand new to the DPTMS crew, correct?
Brand new.
Awesome. Well, you know what, both of you, if you could just tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Okay, well, I retired in 2016 from Fort Stewart. Then I became a junior ROTC instructor for 5 years, and then I got hired on in as the operations specialist and did all the fragos for the garrison. Through that, through watching Bo, I transitioned to a emergency contingency planning officer. It's a really long
yeah, it is.
title.
A long title for a really long directorate name.
Yeah.
So I'm Bo Bradley. I retired in 2008 from 385th MP Battalion. I worked at another directorate for a multitude of years. Shout out to Army Community Service. And I had an opportunity to make a career change in October of 2020 during the global pandemic. Like, who really does that? But I did. And I'm an emergency contingency planning officer, and I'm the primary exercise designer for the garrison. And, we just try to make the community, our first responders, our partners across the board, making this installation a little bit more safe.
Well, that's awesome. Jeff, welcome to the team. Bo, always a pleasure. Let's talk about the integrated protection exercise, and that is a mouthful, so we're going to call it the IPE.
All right, sounds good.
It's coming up when?
So the IPE is going to be conducted on the 29th and 30th of March, but Colonel Ramirez and Colonel Cuthbertson, in their positions as garrison commanders, they kind of act like a community mayor. So they're in charge of the safety and security of the installation, and part of the DPTMS mission is to craft these and design these exercises to exercise our first responders, exercise our emergency operations, just to give our community a sense of security and well-being.
Sure. So tell me, what makes this IPE different than, say, like the full-scale exercise that we just had? Jeff?
All right, so the IPE is, I wouldn't say smaller, but it is smaller in scale. The full-scale exercises more functions in the garrison, gets more people involved.
Sure.
The IPE is a smaller exercise. Still gets a lot of people involved, but it's smaller in scale.
Sure.
So the other thing about the IPE, we want to take this opportunity and, exercise a specific function with our Directorate of Emergency Services. So that's where the integrated part of the exercise design comes in. We're going to be integrated with our DES professionals as well as our external partners in Liberty County here at Fort Stewart and Savannah Police Department up at Hunter Army Airfield.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, because the one thing I was going to say is what we saw with the full-scale exercise were lots of role players moving back and forth between both installations. So still getting folks involved, but maybe different players than we had during the last one.
It'll be still at both locations. On the 29th, like Bo said, we'll be here at Fort Stewart in the evening.
Sure.
It starts around 1700-ish, and it'll go till like 2100.
Sure.
And on the 30th, you'll see it at Hunter in the morning starting around 9 until about 12, 1 o'clock, 1300.
Okay, and can we expect the same scenario or different scenarios?
This is a different scenario with the active shooter response. Everybody's seen in the news, you see what you see, so we're practicing those functions so we can respond correctly.
Yeah, very, very important.
So I want to take the opportunity to, tell the spouses and to tell our family members, yes, it's not something that we want to exercise, but it's important. If you see, the event going down on the 29th around 5 p.m., it's going to be done over at the New Diamond Elementary School. So It is an exercise. We want to take this opportunity to practice, to get our reps in. God forbid if something was to happen, but there is no credible threat to the Fort Stewart Hunt Army Airfield community, and it's just our way of exercising and making sure we remain safe.
Yeah, sure, which is so important. Now tell me, we've got the general vicinity for the Fort Stewart exercise. What about the general vicinity for the Hunter one?
It's just at the CYS Center, Child Development Center on Hunter at building 1284.
Okay, all right, awesome. So no real credible threat. This is all training.
It is all training, but you will see role players. You will see an increase law enforcement responders, and we are going to exercise what is called a new initiative throughout the Army called Rescue Task Force. So that's going to be our DES professionals going in after the threat is mitigated to handle business and to make sure that this scenario is mitigated as quick as possible. But it is an exercise.
Excellent. Well, so what else do you guys want to talk about with this exercise here?
All right, so just monitor your social media platforms. You got Facebook, Twitter, and the digital Garrison app that you see. It'll be on, messages will be on there. And then also the soldiers and spouses. You can also volunteer as a role player. We need role players to act as parents to come into the school and say, can I get my kid out of school? So if you want to volunteer, please, the phone number is 912-767-4049.
And, if you have the time in your schedule in the evening on the 29th, you will help DES do crowd control, and that's why we need those additional role players just to show up. I do need to make a list if you choose to be a role player, and that's why we want you to call in advance. And I got to give the Garrison Public Affairs Office a little shout out. They have done remarkable work helping us communicate all of our previous exercises, and please start watching all of these platforms on the 27th of March. We're going to have a lot more information published. The local news will be preparing the local community, and once again, this is just an exercise so we can keep this community safe.
Yeah, and I want to just touch base really fast on the volunteer opportunity again, because, hello, volunteer hours, right? And not only that, but what a cool way to help your community make sure that God forbid something like this were to ever happen on the installation, you would be helping our community learn, how to handle a situation like this. So please, yes, I encourage everyone, if you're interested in volunteering for a few hours to help out with this exercise, please do so, because I think it'd be a great learning opportunity for you all, too, to kind of see firsthand exactly everything that goes into, conducting one of these exercises.
And then the final caveat on the role players, on the 29th and the 30th, as the exercise progresses, our Criminal Investigation Division is going to be participating CID, and they're going to be practicing hostage negotiation techniques, and we're going to be over at Fort Stewart off of Bundy Avenue. So not only will you see some action going on at the new Diamond Elementary School, but as the evening progresses, we'll be over on Bundy Avenue. It's still an exercise. And then up at Hunter Army Airfield the very next day, it'll start at Building 1284, but it'll go over towards Building 100 on Hunter Army Airfield. But once again, it's an opportunity for CID to exercise their hostage negotiation tactics.
Yeah, very, very cool. Well, is there anything else that you guys would like to add?
There's going to be some sounds. You'll see some sounds that you don't normally hear. But just, be advised if it's during that time, it should be in the part of the exercise.
Sure.
That's good. And then everybody, I just appreciate the community's patience, because our exercise program is pretty robust, but it's all done to keep our community safe.
Sure. Well, all right, guys, just keep an eye out on all of the Fort Stewart Hunter Army Airfield social media platforms, as well as through the Digital Garrison app on 29 and 30 March. That is when these exercises will be happening on Fort Stewart and Hunter Army Airfield, respectively. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being on the podcast with me. Certainly, I'm excited to work another exercise with y'all.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see how all this plays out, but I know that we're all pretty stoked to, get some more learning under our belts so we can make sure that if anything like this ever happen, we're ready.
Right.
Thanks, Molly.
Thanks y'all so much. Well, that's it for this week's edition of the Marne Report podcast. We will talk at you again next week. This is Molly, signing off.
Are you looking for more places to get your news? Subscribe to the Fort Stewart Hunter Army Airfield YouTube channel. As we add to this platform throughout the year, users will have access to installation tours, news updates, and plenty of motivating videos featuring 3ID soldiers and more. Visit youtube.com and search Fort Stewart Hunter Army Airfield.